basically, Arona is an entity that another faction we have called Kaiser, who is basically a research company, again, very much into the topic of finding out how to make artificial abnormalities and stuff like that a reality. And they captured this little entity, this Arona.
Hello, welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and we got one hell of a guest today, folks, and that is...
Hello, my name is FrozenFire, leader of Blue Star.
Thank you very much for joining us, FrozenFire. It's a pleasure to meet you, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's great. I'm just curious, is that the full name or a short name or just an version in between?
Normally it's FrozenFireElias for completely, but that's a mouthful, so we just say, or everyone just says Frozen.
Okay.
Oh,
Just want to make sure I'm on the right page. I don't want to get in trouble. You know how it is. I always stick my foot in my mouth. Tastes good once in a
yes.
while, but hey, what the hell?
Let's jump into the meat
Yes.
and potatoes of the conversation. What are you most known for? How'd you get started, and what pulled you into Vrchat?
What I'm mostly known for at this point is probably my works at Blue Star itself as its owner and as well as its main developer, as well as the previous communities I was a part of, like the Kuchino Yakuza, for example, where I was also in a higher up position and helping them out in development. As well, small other communities that were here and now, for example, helping out the LPT trainer team and stuff like that. So just small activities, just helping out stuff. Vrchat, I'm now here for 2020, so start of the pandemic already. So, God, I'm here way too long. Originally, actually, even signed up to the Knuckles invasion in 2018, but just found my footing now in 2020 when the thing happened.
Okay. So how did you initially find Vrchat, and what led you to being a part of the roleplay scene?
Vrchat I originally found out because back then, 2017, 2016, we all know the Oculus, the dev kit came out, and I was like, boy, this is so fucking awesome. Like, you can go in the world, see inside, and I was like, what shit will be supported by that? What will be possible? So I was just looking around, like news back then, especially, like looking what exists, and then like end of 17, I just stumbled upon Vrchat, and I was like, huh, that looks crazy. Then also I heard more about it later because I was just looking at an article and really like, oh, that looks cool. Later then came a lot of fonts and all the streamer guys that we know nowadays. And I then saw the Knuckles invasion of that, and then I actually decided to like, hey, test it on desktop. Let's see what the fuck I'm going to experience.
Oh.
So Frozen, I beat you, yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. So what? When you first came into VR and everything else, what's the weirdest thing you ever saw?
The weirdest things that I saw, I think, was like immediately when I joined, the first thing I saw were earpiece. Like, the first instance I joined, instantly, people dancing on each other.
told you, Lion, I'm gonna have to start scaring. No, I gotta have a score calendar on here and just start tallying because we just got done interviewing somebody and they said the same thing. Yeah, some of the ERP and yeah, they were bumping uglies and they were stiffies, and you're going, oh my god, oh my god.
I mean, there's two chances. You either see a knuckle when you join 2015, or you see earpiece. There's no in between.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, you got that one. Okay, no problem. I appreciate the insight.
So, what was your first day in Vrchat like, and how did you find the roleplay scene?
The roleplay scene itself, I was already a part of for a long time, as I originally joined role-playing with Gary Smart. And that for like a long ass time. I think 2015 I've started with role-playing Gary Smart, like SCP roleplay stuff. And when I came into Vrchat in 2020, I mostly was just hanging out, just looking what people are doing, kind of goofing around. But I also then remembered, like, back then Knuckles, there was like this community, the LPD, they were like catching Knuckles. That was kind of interesting. Wonder what they're doing nowadays, basically. And yeah, saw like, oh, they're still existing. maybe I should sign up for this. And then I realized, oh, my internet is absolute dog shit. So maybe I wait with that for a year until I have better internet. And then joined them at the end of 2020 actually, and patrolled with them, and I had a lot of fun. And with that also then met more communities like the Lolly Mafia back then and stuff like that.
Hmm. Oh, wow. So, what did you initially think of the roleplay scene coming from Gary's mod when you found the LPD and started joining at the end of 2020?
It was very like Gary's Mod roleplay, who knows it, is very strict. Like, you get a fucking book and you need to know it now, basically, is kind of Gary's Mod. You have no time to rest. You're like scrolling through wiki articles, trying to figure out what's going on. Then I'm here in Vrchat where it's like everyone is so casual. I was more like, am I going to fuck something up here? Because there's no documentation. Like, what is going on, basically? It was like nothing there to read, and I was so unused to just so little regulations. But I came very quickly used to that and had a lot of fun with this kind of new approach for roleplay to me.
Hmm. So, may I ask why the casual approach was so shocking to you, may I ask?
Because back then in Garry's Mod, we basically learned we are doing all of this because we want structure. We don't want the ones that disturb the roleplay kind of stuff. The world would fall apart when we wouldn't. Like, it was kind of this scenario where basically you slowly believed you need more regulations to make sure that everything goes right. You need trainings and stuff like that. You realize very quickly that this was horseshit. That was more like, yeah, because we're so strict with role playing, but that's why we have it. Not because it's not possible. I really quickly realized it's very much possible with little trainings, with none at all, to have very motivated people that still stick to the role play that has been imagined for everyone.
Okay. So, from the LPD and to where you're at now, how did you get through into Code Show and then what started Blue Star? And also, would you mind telling people what Blue Star is?
Oh yeah, let's start. So when I was in the LPD, there was kind of like a little thing that happened that a staff member was removed from their position in the LPD, kind of a small drama that happened. In that period, I was then basically in two communities, the one of the old staff member and an LPD. I'm not saying the name because they don't like me anymore. So yeah, we kind of were. I was working as a staff member at the new community, was still helping out the LPDs and chatting with my friends in the chatting with my friends in the LPD being in the new community. Despite the new community actually becoming a higher staff over time, like second in command, I just had a lot of clashes with the original leadership, just disagreements on authority basically, as they saw some things that we wanted and not being happening despite us being leadership, and we were like, your old leadership, the new leadership needs to take over, needs to innovate the community, so it's not like the LPD. After all, we don't want to copy the LPD, we want to help make experience for new people after all. It would be not fun after all when you just copy each other. We want to all create a new experience for every community, for every new person that can be experienced. And that kind of drove a divide and just led to me basically saying like, nope, I'm not interested in shit, I'm out of here. Made my line with it and then just gone. In that time though, I also was like chatting with Ginger, the current leader of the Kochi no Yakuza. And he was in the Lolly Mafia during that time, or Material Syndicate and how it's nowadays. And he was also like, I don't really feel that place anymore. I kind of wanted to try something different. So he was like hooking me up in December and was like, hey, I saw you left like a couple of days ago. Well, like, you're not interested like in helping us out and shit. And it was like, oh, yeah, I have a bit of free time laying around. Why not? Seemed interesting, the concept of playing the enemy instead of the good guys all the time, because SCP is kind of good guys and shit like that. So I was like, yeah, well, it sounds interesting. Why not try it? And yeah, I had a lot of fun helping out there. Helped out for like 1.5 years, 2.5 years. I'm not sure anymore. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We helped each other out, and then just came to a point where we were also like, hey, I like this certain aspect of our roleplay. It's kind of sad we not experience it more. It was like my old SP drives kicking in. I'm really loving the paranormal of the Yakuza. So I was like saying, hey, no bad blood between us or something like that. I would just like to do my own thing, basically, kind of.
Mm.
And we were then cool. We just left on good terms. We still hang out with each other, inviting each other to like shit from time to time. Just we did our own paths then.
Okay. So, what is Blue Star? Would you mind starting with that? And what led what helped you inspire for this to start?
So Blue Star is a thing to define. Is very difficult as so I will just start with what it's inspired by. You might know things like SCP, Lobotomy Corporations, or the Moon games,
Yeah.
especially. As well as just classic horror tales, like creepypastas, internet creepypastas, classic ones, like Slender Man and kind of stuff. And I love those kinds of stories. I love horror stories that try to like grab you in. And I especially love the thrill of trying to figure out why those monsters are monsters and why they're doing the shit they're doing. So I was playing around already for a longer time with like, wouldn't it be cool to like have something like this in Vrchat? I knew we have a complete SCP scene in Vrchat, but I was kind of like, they're a bit too strict. I don't want to do this again. I kind of want to do something more lighthearted. So during this period, I was also then starting to play Blue Archive, what is basically a game about anime girls with guns in schools. It sounded very cool. um, and that was kind of motivating me. It was like, that is cool. They like have sometimes those periods where they're like also handling artifacts and kind of that, but they also have this like casual school life vibe with like silly stories. And I was like, that sounds super interesting to mix SCP and this game together to create a community. And yeah, that's basically how Blue Star then started.
Oh. So, may I ask, what was some of the first stories like first role plays like when this was first created, and how long did it take you or take the community to start picking up?
Um, I think the first roleplay we started like 3 or 4 months after like me starting with setting up the Discord. So pretty early in my opinion with that. This first roleplay story we, for example, had was about the artifacts and monsters in our world. So we have an organization called the Cult in our universe that is like a cult trying to torture people, trying to sacrifice them for their goddesses and stuff like that. And it was like our first little story where we basically were trying to figure out, who are those guys that suddenly like do a bunch of kidnappings in the cities and trying to save the civilians from that, as well as trying to figure out what kind of weird technology do they use that they can just pop out and in of over the universe.
Oh, interesting. So, what is there do you guys follow a storyline, or is it a bunch of random blips over time? And how has the roleplay evolved over time?
So we have two types of stories. We have our main storyline that focuses about the people in the main universe,
Mm.
as well as, of course, the company itself, major events, and we have side stories. In the main story, we are like approaching topics like human trafficking, the company being attacked, us trying to build this wonderful portal behind me to travel to other universes, as well as in the side stories, we exploring like other factions that, for example, also try their deeds. For example, we have a faction called ARC, who is a research company that, like us, tries to understand more about abnormalities, but where Blue Star tries to be more trying to help abnormalities and trying to integrate them into their processes, they are more want to abuse them for weaponry and basically military actions.
Ah. So, how has the story? How have you told that story in the role play with the main arc? May I ask, and has the storytelling evolved since you started?
At the start, we were very focused on the kind of culty stuff.
Hmm.
So we were rather more storytelling with like combat being mixed in to like basically do scenes like in a video game, you have your boss arena, you're now having your fights and stuff like that. It was like structured like that with like evading enemies and stuff like that. And over time, we had like, of course, more people joining with other ideas. For example, Stry, who is the one that mainly does the arc story, what is a very brutal, combat-focused kind of story.
Hmm.
And we were like, to mix this all in to make this sense, we just do documents. Basically, every event host writes a document. And when we write our main story, we try to analyze what the players do, as well as integrate them into votings.
Mm.
And with that, try to like direct the story. So that any player action, doesn't matter if it's in a side story, doesn't matter if it's in a voting, or doesn't matter if it's in a main story, influences multiple other story strengths, either in the side story itself or in the main plot as a whole.
Oh wow. So what made your team decide to include the role players instead of just streamlining the story?
It was kind of thing that just immediately we saw like when you just have a game and it just wants to push you to a direction, it feels too pushy. It doesn't feel like you experience a world that is living, breathing, and trying to like integrate itself.
Mm.
I for once find those kinds of stories also way more compelling, while I'm very often like just a side character that has nothing to do with the story, just being on sides, trying to tell a bit more about the universe as a whole. To like, instead of you feeling like being in a headset and getting a story told, you feel like you're actually a living, breathing organism in the story, and the story around you just can change. Like you feel more, you have impact about what is happening. And I think this kind of feeling is something that holds you very much closer to the roleplay and makes you very much more appreciated as well. As it's not like, oh yeah, you now did this small child, you harmed it, like, oh, it will never be mentioned again. Now we have, for example, a little chicken that has been too close to radiation and is now a big chicken that is working in the company as an employee. And people love that kind of shit. It is ridiculous. It makes no sense, but it makes you feel so much more integrated into the roleplay.
Okay. So may I ask you a question? What have been some of your favorite bits of roleplay, and what have been the players' favorite bits of roleplay from Blue Star?
Ooh, there is a lot of creatures we have over time. One creature I know that our community very loves is Noodle Man, who is a living, breathing noodle-like creature
Hmm.
that randomly is just challenging people to duels or is otherwise just doing mischief. It is completely random. It makes no other sense. He's beloved like it was fucking Christmas.
The only
Oh,
thing
One of
comes to
my
mind. The only thing comes to mind is you got to look out for when somebody comes in and goes, "I'm Bull Man," and the chopsticks are here. Look out, where, yeek.
oh,
One of my favorite characters would definitely be Dev or Developer, how we called him, who was basically just starting as a normal scientist who was very clumsy. And then at one point we were just like, why we need an antagonist for our next storyline. We know where we want to go to, but we really don't have an antagonist who could like be good to betray the company. And we just had Shige, who is like playing the character and was like, make me an enemy, why not? And one was like, the guy that literally gets stuck in the vending machine for a week and talks through it and walks around in a vending machine costume. Why not? Sounds perfect for the role. So
Hey, dude, my sandwich is stuck. Would you get it out for me? You're already in there. Sure, no problem. Here's your sandwich, dude. Oh my God, I'd have a field day with that one. Goddamn, my pop stuck again. Dude, can you get my soda and don't shake it? I want to drink and not wear it. My God, that'd be hilarious. Oh boy.
I love that personally. The only reason why people don't highlight this as their favorite thing is because they're all upset that we killed Dev in the story. As he turned into an enemy. They're all upset about it.
well. So how did
Oh,
you
my.
turn the character that's stuck in the vending machine into the villain? How did that all play out?
So basically the big bad who we called was the void. It's basically a space between dimensions
Mm.
that is no man's land. When you're in that void, you're just going to basically like data on a hard drive that is basically gets overwritten kind of a way.
Mm.
And that creature basically put a little organism inside his head that was slowly eating his brain and started to control him.
Mm.
Basically a parasite. And this parasite slowly took him over until the day where the parasite was basically acting as death, or trying at least, and the players could get hints over that period of time, like I think it was half a year or more, where like they got slow hints that their personality changes, that they're turned way more competent, as well as over the time also just bodies turning up, where the head was like open, like the entire head was open, the brain was missing from other people that we experienced, like kind of a missing person incident. With then at the end of the roleplay, that was our last season, basically the creature revealing that it tries to steal our portal technology to get his boss out of the void and trying to take over our universe.
Ah, that sounds very Lovecraftian. And honestly, sounds like a really dope roleplay. How did the players initially find out, or what led to them finding out that it was another organism?
The way they figured that out was through basically a story in the woods. Basically, they over time got more and more hints about signals coming out and of the HQ, very weird, the very weird happenings of the people that were just missing their brains. So they just started investigating in the woods if there are like a meeting place basically that commonly was basically having those interferences. So they were sneaking there through the forest and trying to find who possibly is meeting up there and what is they on about. And there they could then find a little conversation between a body that was stolen by the creature and his of the master's servant, another one, and listen to that. Where then basically when they came back to HQ, figuring out, oh, that someone is missing, lockdown, everything goes dark, everywhere alarms is sounding, evacuation, everything, HQ getting attacked then as well. With a bunch of monsters, and basically the creature itself saw like, I cannot really hide anymore. I need to quickly snap the artifact. And doing that snapping, he was then caught, and basically, I went loose.
Another question I like asking storytellers: were there any characters that your players liked more than you, the storytellers, did?
Yes, Noodle Man. That creature's
Noodle Man.
that fucking creature is. Every time I see it, I'm just like, I want to sign my death wish.
So, would you mind explaining the lore of Noodle Man? Because I'm kind of curious as to who Noodle Man is.
You would
The
have
thing
to
is-
ask. Oh my god.
Because it's an
Hey,
independent
what the
character, I'm not
details?
really responsible for. I don't know too much about Noodle Man. I like him to do what he wants with them. The things I know about him, he's Noodle Man from Noodle Land, and he's trying to basically just tries to make everywhere chaos and trying to do the opposite of whatever the Inventors has planned.
Well, it sounds more fun. May I ask, why is it the storytellers aren't a fan of Noodle Man from Oodle Land?
Oh, very simple. Because the players are getting so quickly distracted by him. It's like you try to set up a story. You basically put the gold around the corner. And what focus they on? The gold or the fucking noodle in the other room that's just waving from the background? Of course, the fucking noodle in the background.
You know, sometimes I really enjoy those stories where you'll see DMs from like D&D stories. Like, I introduced this one character as a gnome, and they would have spent more hours talking to the gnome than the story read next door. I just enjoy those. That's why I asked. I'm sorry.
It is enjoyable. It's just like, at the same time, you're just like, I have only 2 hours. Please, please follow the objective.
Oh, so
Oh
then
my
that
god.
that leads for another question as well. How do you, the storytellers, keep track of all of the story you've been telling over time? And if you're having player actions mean something to the story overall, how do you keep track of everything going on?
We basically have an entire system, a bot system that I've written over time for that now to keep track of, as well as a lot of documentation. Basically, you join our events, you join a VC where the bot starts tracking your activity, it starts what you're tracking to the event, kind of that kind of deal. The event host is also at the end of the event writing down, today we did this and this, the players had this reaction. So we have a brief overview of all the stories that happened. Plus we have a lot of people that like to record stuff. So we can just put the recordings also to the events. And with that, like, basically form the story around it more. As well as our event hosts are just very communicative after all and try to assist us as best as possible, of course, in staying coherent with the story.
Okay. So I have another fun question in terms of like writing the stories. Was there anything written into the stories that you wish the players found but never did?
God, too much. um, I'm a person who is overwriting stories. I basically like to write more than necessary just to make the world feel more alive, despite everybody telling me, like, you're a psychopath, why are you doing this? You're wasting time yourself. But I'm like, but when I write this, they might experience it, might not. And it's so fun still to see them, like, seeing so many connections in between other stories that you only know when you actually sit for multiple hours on a fucking stupid script trying to get all the story into a fucking template. It's so much fun though. One of the things that they never really researched more on, what I kind of find sad, is a little creature called Arona, who is basically she calls herself a computer program. She's a non-speaking entity who is though able to travel through dimensions without the use of technology, what is a very rare trait. The sad part is, every time I try to tell a story with her, it's like, oh yeah, there's a piece of candy. Let's go. Let's go in the other direction. I just have a very much unluck with that. And then I like people, what is this creature? What is it supposed to do? And you're like sitting there. I put it all into the last 50 events, and you didn't say one thing about it. Why?
Noodle Man.
Yes,
Noodle
Noodle Man
Man.
was too important.
Yeah, the
Man
Noodle Man
told me
is
to
fucking
show
good,
at least
yeah.
3 times.
Oh, well, may I ask, would you mind telling us a bit about Arona then and some of the other stuff you've written in that you wish were found?
Basically, Arona is an entity that another a faction we have called Kaiser, who is basically a research company, again, very much into the topic of finding out how to make artificial abnormalities and stuff like that a reality. And they captured this little entity, this Arona. She was just sleeping in a biopod that basically they wanted to use to do universal travel. What the thing is, though, they never found out is that basically doing an escape of her, she built a lot of connections with other entities in that facility. For example, one is Krampus. Yes, the literal incarnation of Krampus. And they never figured that out. We had literally to wait until Christmas. They finally got a document about it, despite having like 3 times already the chance to get it. Like, very obviously. And like figuring out more connections about more characters and what Arona did with them, what kinds of factions she's aligned to. I just wish so much I would find more about it. Because it's my character, personally, I have a bit of bias, maybe, to be fair as well.
So, oh, so how many things are there in the background that they've never found, and will they ever be found in the future, or are some of them lost to time?
Some of them are definitely lost, as might change my mind about the story over time as well. For example, the season 2 was going for a year longer than planned due to organization issues. And we had to cut a lot of things out. We had like a custom map for the event, like 2 custom maps. And I needed to sadly cut half of the content of the second map. It was like supposed to be a void, basically made out of cubes, black cubes, where you go through an environment. You can imagine it like, how's that game called again? I have not the track of the game anymore. God, maybe I know later again. Basically, it's a environment made of cubes, and there was supposed to be a big boss fight with a monster that was looking over the entire arena, basically death being mutated to a mount that makes a monster looking over the arena like a chess field. And it was like completely coded with like AI shit and stuff like that, like using Udon's AI features.
Hmm.
And I needed to scrap the entire part as I just overdid it. The time was sadly not there to make all of it, and I needed to scrap half of it. It was hard, and it will probably never be used. It's kind of sad.
Okay. So after some of that, I do have a couple of questions on the story itself because I don't know it. What are the motivations of the different companies, like the ones who wish to get rid of the entities and those who wish to use it for military? What are their motivations for doing that, and how does the Void play into all of this? What is the Void?
So, I need to even go further out for the void to explain. So I firstly go to the companies as that was going to be my quick call. So, Kaiser, for example, is a company who is very focused on money. They are like the rich guys that are basically selling entertainment, illegal entertainment to people. Like for example, slavery kind of shit. They sell slaves in cooperation with others. They try to create artificial artifacts to basically sell also to rich people, to the highest bidder, basically kind of stuff.
Huh?
We have ARK, who is very focused on pharmaceutical. They are a pharmaceutical company and tries to basically get more into abnormalities to kind of help people, but at the same time kind of get rid of them at the same time. So they're kind of split on what they really want to do. We have the Code, who is basically trying to find in all of this chaos a goddess to restart the world, basically. They want to restart the world. They want to strip the world from humanity, as I think humanity did too much damage, and they need a reset key for that. That's where the Red Sky and also the Void comes into play. The Red Sky is a prophecy that is held by a few universes. There's basically the prophecy of the Red Sky will come, it will take everything it demands and basically reset the world through those means. It's kind of a goddess that basically wants to neuralize kind of some stuff. And the Void is one of its servants, basically. It is not directly a servant, it's more an independent servant, but it also seeks for this like reset, as the Void is kind of like garbage bin after all for the universe. It kind of tries to delete the data and start a new slate. As it's kind of meant to be that in the kind of universe it's supposed to recycle unused material, but it kind of lost its ways and recycles more than it's supposed to.
Okay. So what are the playable factions in this for the players, and how do you juggle the company versus company warfare versus player versus Void, Goddess, and Red Sky? How do you juggle both of those in the story?
Hello, I'm actually here to interrupt the episode you're watching really quick to ask you a favor. Please come join us at any of the other locations we have. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify, both of which we post our episodes and are very up to date on both. We have Discord where you go to hang out all the time, where you're gaming and shooting the breeze over with many people over that way. Feel free to come join us. I invite you. If you wish to support us, we have a Patreon where we post a bunch of random bits, bobs, and extra podcast every once in a while for you to go enjoy. Also, if you wish to support us while in Vrchat, we're now part of the creator economy. So please come join if you wish to support us there. It's there for you to choose if you so wish. And thank you very much. And a special thanks to some of the people who have signed up on our Patreon, which are as follows. And I have written down so I'll remember. And that's a tough thing. Forbidden Zero, Niche, Aliquum, Future Oracle, Lesser Capybara, and Frozen. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
So by us, what is playable with normal player means is the external security department. Basically, what it's part of Blue Star, external security. They're responsible for external threats. Basically, the universe as a whole. As abnormalities are not a thing that normal civilian population knows about. It's actually kind of underground secret more that only a couple of people know. And the external security department is supposed to help abnormalities, because an abnormality is not only a monster. It can also be just me coming from a different dimension. That would be an abnormality. You can interpret it as the word, basically when you come from another planet. You would also not be considered a human anymore. You're considered an alien in this case. So that's our definition for abnormality as well. So we try to help, of course, friendly people like Nanachis, for example, or other friendly creatures, and try to integrate them into society, and then maybe send them to gambling to earn money for us and money laundering. We do kind of some illegal stuff at the side. The other way you can play and interact with the story is being an event host or being an NPC. Basically, anybody can start a story in Bluestar. That is kind of our goal, so that we have a very open environment for people to tell their own stories. That's why we have up to all this portal with multiple universes. So that, for example, when the Fallout universe and Bluestar would collide with each other, it's completely possible. It is just, yeah, we're here now. For example, when the United Police Department was still here, we, for example, wanted to also do a missing persons case with them originally together. That was collaborating between UPD and us. Didn't work sadly out. We did something else with them before they disbanded, so we had a kind of fun with them in this case. But this is the nice thing about Bluestar. You can tell any story you like, and we will find a way on how to make it work in some cases. Of course, the main story dictates what is actually possible and what not yet. But this will change over time, making more things possible, making more environments. We have then, of course, NPCs. Everybody in our community is welcome to NPC after they got their initial time in the community to like meet the story, to get used to the processes a bit. And then they're just allowed to NPC. So there can be somebody on the street side, there can be a boss, there can be just a normal goon that tries to fight. It depends on the event that is supposed to be hosted, but with that, somebody who joins the community basically can experience an event from all sides and have fun with it. We're also currently implementing clans, what is basically a way that players can make sub-factions in the external security department to basically tell even more stories with their own characters.
Okay. Oh. So I do have one short question I would like to ask you, and that is something we've heard a little bit from the roleplay community is NPCs. How do you encourage or enable people to play NPCs versus having their own character or being their own hero and that kind of thing?
We have in our system called something credits and XP. We are inspired by gacha games, so I kind of like implementing a lot of gacha kind of features. So, for example, when you want to unlock a shield or a shotgun and stuff like that, you need to buy this and you need to unlock the items. So when you visit events, you get XP and credits for your tasks. And when you play as an NPC, because you perform something for the people, you get a bonus on top of a normal payment the player gets. Just as a thank you, you're helping us develop the story. We also have some maniacs like myself and a couple of others that are really just loving telling stories, what is also helping us a lot. But yeah, mostly we try to give them like small rewards. We also do Member of the Month, where we are honoring one very active or one very helpful member every month. What is also like something that people get motivated on, like, yeah, you did a lot of NPC, you help us a lot out in the background. Here's your honoring for this month. We hope we can continue with you onward like this.
Okay. So what have been some of your favorite moments in the storytelling? Any specific events that stuck in mind, and what have been some of the players' favorite moments in the story?
The favorite moments for the players, when I'm not wrong, are all mostly the side stories. We have like stories that are just there for you to relax, have a social time, chat with each other. Just that you and your characters, as well as the NPCs you created over time, just can chat in an environment. And things always go wrong in those environments. From random proposals happening to other characters, to characters chasing each other through the HQ because they're angry at each other and try to murder each other. It can go very up and down in those. To be fair, normal HQ life is kind of weird. As we have, for example, the professor who turned another player character willingly, quotation marks, as willingly drugging somebody can be, into a robot. So from flesh to steel, basically, kind of the scenario. And doing a lot of mischiefs until the point that she accidentally threatened the external security, the public affairs department this way, who is basically our CIA/FBI for the company, threatened one of those employees and yeah, got shot from that and got caught, put on a shock collar with a GPS tracker on them.
Oh, so what have been some why do you think the side displays or the side quests are the ones that people turn to the most? Then ask.
It's because you love when the world develops and you get more to know about the world. But you kind of love, of course, to develop yourself after all. That's why you create a character. That's why you put so much love and care in creating an avatar, writing custom background lore and stuff like that. And you kind of want to like share this with people. Like how I want to share my story as an event host. They of course want to share their stories, like how they got into this world. For example, their family's getting attacked. They're trying to help. They're being on the streets for years, trying to help each other out. And of course, they want to tell that and like put it into roleplay. We have also very special events where people like those characters request events of us. For example, we had one event with a small creature called Lupin, who like said he's an alien. He wants to explore this alien world of himself. And he basically said like, oh yeah, this is this and this, what I really love to see. And I was like, hey, let's host an event around just your character that the other people can experience to develop your story as well. And that's kind of also things people love to do, just having an own event to focus on their history and future.
Oh, so would I ask this then? If Blue Star encourages people to role play their own stories in future, how do you, as a storyteller, work their stories into the official narrative?
Most of the time we're not doing too much work on that, as the players kind of make it already themselves very self-contained, not giving us too many reasons to do it. Sometimes they do, like Izzy, for example, who is an employee that turned into a monster due to experiments being done on her after she got basically accidentally on an event kidnapped because she fell to the ground. One story the players really loved was a story about Lydia. Basically, we just had a casual, normal mission where we just said, oh yeah, get this artifact, it's controlling people, basically. And we were just thinking like, oh yeah, it's going to be a normal event, they get the artifact, bring it home, and story ends, we can plan the next one on their own. What we didn't expect it to is that when the artifact took over Lydia, no one of the normal employees was really checking what is going on despite knowing the exact effects of the artifact. So they just let Lydia walk casually to a car, start the engine and drive away. What no one of us expected to really happen. It was like, oh yeah, this makes sense for Lydia to do. So the event host of course said like, oh yeah, do this, and we will just see what the players do. We just all didn't expect it to let just the character randomly being driven off. None of us was like, that is not supposed to happen. So just out of this, we were like, are you interested in just coming back, or would you like to like explore a story with your character? And the person who playing Lydia was like, hey, fuck it, why not? Let's tell the story. And with that, we made an entire side arc about Lydia becoming a goddess of her own faction, trying to overpower Bluestar, trying to steal artifacts, and trying to make her own goddesshood through the artifact. And had an entire storyline because of that. It is very random. We give our players sometimes a bit too much freedom, maybe, but it creates wonderful stories.
Okay. So, what are some other moments that the players have surprised you, the storytellers and the event hosts?
Mostly just doing exactly the opposite of what we thought they're doing. It is very often like, we think like, oh yeah, there's the objective, there's the enemy. They totally wouldn't take a massive monster they have no chance of fighting against, instead of just running to the obvious exit. They're fighting the monster, got it. It's kind of... And when we then sent them to a boss fight, we were like setting up a boss fight, trying to put a lot of care into it. They're exactly doing the opposite. Like,
That sounds like a really specific event. May I ask what happened?
that was actually here in the HQ. We were trying to push them into this portal to get to the rift. So we were just sending a bunch of monsters, a bunch of big creatures through those doors, trying to get them into this room cornered. Their reaction was, just light them up. Light them up. Doesn't matter what happens. We light them up until the F of the heat of the universe. But an hour before that, when the alarm sounded and they were supposed to go into evacuation mode, whereas external security is supposed to help scientists to evacuate and stuff like that, their decision was, oh yeah, in this direction is the exit. Bye guys, you handle that. Like, guys, you are supposed to like rescue your fellow employees, you know, the ones you like hanged out for the past 2 years, like, you know.
Every man for yourself. Screw you. I'm going to the exit and getting the hell out of here. You can clean up the mess. Oh my God.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh. Wow. So does that happen often, or is that like generally people, is it less chaotic like that?
When an event is not chaotic, I'm getting scared. Because the next event will be more chaotic.
It's like having a
It is
toddler
mostly
that
like
just
this.
goes too quiet. Wait a minute, the kid is quiet.
Yeah,
Where to go?
Hey, what the hell's he up to? They're into something,
Exactly.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Good way to put it, Lon. Good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically like, I'm so proud of them. They did something so wonderful. They worked together for once. They were not fighting each other. God, I don't want to be at the next event. They're going to tear each other apart. Kind of like.
Oh, so how long has this main story been going, and how do you dictate the arc? Let me rephrase that. What has been each arc about, and how many have there been?
We currently had only 2 main seasons. Like I said, the second season accidentally became a bit longer than originated, a year longer. Season 1 was basically around finding suppliers, finding more about this world there. Because the External Security Department was basically founded at that point, was a new department trying to integrate it, trying to be integrated into the company, and basically trying to be integrated into knowing the world. That was like the entire gist of it, trying to form context, trying to help the company out of a supplier issue. As a legal organization, you have kind of supplier issues maybe at the start. Who would have known? With then season 2 being about basically the mother portal. We basically, how our season system works, we do a season, and the season has then own parts. Basically, we call them like season 1, part 1, for example, was like trying to form the mother portal, figuring out we don't have the equipment, stuff like that. And then we were sitting on season part 2, what was just supposed to continue the story normally, trying to open up them to the to other universes, trying to explore them, the ones we can, like sub-universes. Kind of an issue happened at that point that like we got a new co-leader basically, because we kind of got a bit cramped, so we need to recruit more staff, trying to arrange the positions, basically making sure that everything works out, doing some tweaks to the economy system, kind of that, just to make sure that people have it easy in life. As well as me starting university, what came all at once, and any form of planning was out of the window. But to be fair, it was also that point where we like decided we need to rewrite the story, and where Dev came in, and where we made all of those changes. So it changed completely where we actually wanted to take the second part to. What I think made the story also way more interesting in some way, but also, of course, it made a lot of chaos on how do we now try to keep the story moving forward that has not been like touched that much on for the last few months without retconning necessarily something. Because I rather like a story to move forward rather than to retcon itself, because it feels better that way, in my opinion. But of course, it means also you're going to spend another month or 2 on trying to figure out how you not retcon things.
Mm. So, how are the finales of season 1 and season 2? How did they happen, and how are they different from each other?
Um, we try to do a little bow on our seasons. So both seasons actually ended in a very similar manner. Season 1 ended with the cult attacking the HQ building, putting out fire, trying to rescue personnel, having a big ass demon in our rooftop, trying to the players defending the HQ, and basically it was a communist god.
Mm.
Basically was there trying to do his things, trying to spread communism, more or less. Um, and season 2 had then basically then we landed in a train for quite a while until the HQ got rebuilt, and then kind of moved on from that point. Had our little break time that we have between season normally. Then season 2 started, what basically, like I said, trying to figure out the mother portal, how to build it, try to find the technology, where we also got Arc into this entire mix, slowly being developed as a faction. And it then ending also in the HQ, again, burning to the ground, basically, because we were like, we need to kind of get them to another dimension. They kind of always say like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be funny to burn the HQ down again? So we were like, your wish is our command. Let's burn this shit down again. Why not?
Oh. So, may I ask you this question as well? What have been some of your favorite player characters and NPCs that came about over time?
One character I really love is of course Dev, as like this kind of crazy researcher that is completely a dickhead from time to time, but also then of course this plot twist of what happened to him. A player character I really like would be Red, for example, who is basically an orphan who got abandoned by his parents because the parents did illegal shit and basically got shot by the police, and him trying to build his own life up from scratch.
Mm.
That's a character I really love because you can see in this character like a very goofball character at the start that tries to, of course, get his life resetted back on track, and you just see how this character turns more and more depressed because of realizing that basically nothing is going to get better. This is just getting worse. Life is a bitch after all.
Mm.
And what would it? And of course, my own characters I love to play, what I have way too many of because I love creating characters. Where one of them would be Fiona, who I got bullied to create because my staff team and some of the players were like, "You're literally never playing a player character, so we are going to basically bully you to create one." Where I basically then created Fiona out of what is basically the total opposite of the story of this character, Luna, who's the CEO. A rich girl that lost her parents doing an attack, basically,
Ah,
on their mansion.
okay. So, with all the player characters, NPCs, and monsters that are created, what have been some of your favorite character introductions that have happened throughout the last 2 seasons?
God, there's too many. The thing is, before a character exists by us, except NPCs, I like get a little document by the author that just specifies their general things, and like over time I now like approve just in a year I think over 100 entries.
Damn.
What is like, uh, because you can have multiple characters after all, so it's like. I kind of lost track. I like every character is in my head somewhere because I needed to approve them, go them through the system and all of that. But I lost track of them to be honest over time. There's a lot of wonderful characters though, I can't say that much.
Okay. Now, looking back at everything that you've shared with us so far and the ones we haven't heard, have you expected Blue Star to get this far from when it first spawned?
Um, I don't think anybody that says like knows anywhere where it's going. We all are, when we all create a community or start a new project, we're all doing this because of passion.
Hmm.
Well, at least I hope you're doing it out of passion, because otherwise it's turning awkward. So I was all just think like, personally, my intention when I started Blue Star was like, I want to make an entertaining experience for people. but that people can have fun with, that people can like say like, oh yeah, back then a few years ago I was in this crazy stupid roleplay group that did this and this shit. Just kind of, that is what I want. I don't care if Blue Star is going to grow, if Blue Star is going to go small. Okay, that would be kind of sad, but I I want to tell a story and want to give people the opportunity to learn loving roleplay, like how I was able to do with Gary Smart. And I think that is something that most of the community leaders also want. No one is here probably for success or shit like that. They're here all to make an entertaining experience that tells people a wonderful story about themselves. Because after all, every community that gets made that has a story has the owner's story and the ones of his friends everywhere sprinkled upon, and I think that's wonderful to do.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Another random question I have for you is, are there any memes in the community that you wish would go away?
Ooh. I don't think any meme has yet triggered me too much, except of one, and that is the coffee meme. Basically, we have we have one character that just is very new, that is basically like coffee, coffee, I want coffee, and just the entire time, basically like a fucking radio, just going up and down, and that's basically his character trait. He's completely insane, basically. And it's like, God, please, can somebody get duct tape for this motherfucker?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, coffee's great. Don't get the mad coffee.
I like
Let
T-Ball.
let Frozen here deal with the coffee man just a little longer. Wait, what would has the coffee man or Noodle Man ever met?
What? Can you repeat?
Has both coffee and Noodle Man ever met?
No, they didn't met yet. Oh god, no. I hope they don't.
Oh wow.
Sorry, not
Please,
sorry.
let me please.
Jeez.
Oh,
I will drag you here when this happens. I will make you informed of this. I drag you.
please do. I want to see whatever chaos unfolds there happen. I would love to see it.
Only you, Line, would want chaos between coffee and a noodle. My God, help
Let's
me.
brew coffee with ramen. Let's go.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
It can only be chaos.
Yeah. Well,
Chaos. It'd be nasty. Yuck. Think about it.
I hope you were
Coffee.
not going to eat them.
No, but can you imagine just the poor sap that's got to go, hey, you want a drink? I got some noodle in it. Think about it.
Oh god,
God.
the poor Ulan.
Yeah, no doubt.
oh, well, I'm gonna ask the last couple questions before we wrap this up. First of which is your name. Where did it come from, and why do you still use it?
Basically, Elias is my real first name in real life. And it's kind of the name I have mostly used around the internet to walk around and just chill. FrozenFire actually comes from an OC that I created once. But basically, I've been part of the My Little Pony fandom back then. I've enjoyed the show in itself and stuff like that. And I created an own character around the show that was called this way. And since then, I really stuck with this name as I like the color blue, I like the color orange. Frozen and Fire both are colors that represent both colors, and I find it because of that just a name I stuck with, and because it's fitting.
Oh, well, thank you very much for sharing that. And the avatar you're in, what made you choose it? Why do you still use it? And is there anything about it that means anything to you?
The character I'm currently playing is Luna, who I originally created in the culture for the same reason, getting threatened to create a character by the exact same people, mostly. I kind of have a track record of loving NPCing more than playing characters. And Luna, basically, when I created her in culture, I was like, all of you guys are such goofballs, and you all want me to create a character, so I'm going to create a little bitch that is like regulation hungry. That's basically like, that is the regulation. And that's how she got created. basically, as she struck me of kind of like a strict woman that would go on the table. It's like, you have to fill those documents out until tomorrow. Do this now or you're going to be punished.
Oh, well, I will say this, Frozen. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to meet you and hear all about Blue Star. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, very much so. We appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you too as well.
Oh, so if anyone in the audience wishes to reach out to you or Blue Star, where can they go to find you?
Oh, that is very simple. They can either find more stuff out on our website, starwheel.org. They can find also the other project we might or might not start in the future. They can find us also on Twitter, YouTube, and Blue Sky, just over the handle Blue Star VR or Blue Star VRC.
Oh, well, everything there that Frozen here has mentioned will be down in the description down below for YouTube. And if you're on Spotify, it'll be over in the episode description. There's a little section in there that'll be called guest links. It'll be right there for one easy place for you to find. Just go over that way, click it, and there's some other fun links as well. And with that said, this is the point where we, the audience, or we'll ask you, the audience, a question. And I want to try something a little different this time. Instead of really asking a question per se, I will bring something up that was commented on in previous episodes. So we'll do that as a place to be. So there was an individual here a while back when we did the Jorah episode, which his name is Ryver, Ryvyr. And they said, my brain is on fire. I didn't know something like this existed. Just back into VR. All the gear and don't go small. Sorry. It's going upside down. I mean, there we go. I didn't like this something like this existed back into VR and all the gear. It sounds like paradise. Also, former Air Force. I'm glad whenever post-military folks gather and share projects generally. And I'll say I'm glad there's a home for folks who are post-military or stuff like that as well. And for when I hear, there's quite a few folks sharing knowledge over there for Roleplay. So with that said, let us know your thoughts and opinions on this as well as audience. Thank you very much for commenting. And with that said, Mr. Raptor, you know the thing.
You know it, Line. No matter what, if you're roaming around and you see this guy named Noodle, ask him, is it a noodle or Japanese spaghetti? We'll talk to you later. Have a good one, folks. Bye. Water. It's only ankle deep, goddammit. No, it's higher than that. It's knee deep in my case. Oh, at least I know one thing's getting cleaned. It's a stream of it all. No peeing in the pool. Oh, it's not a pool. It's just a goddamn fucking setup. I'm just a poor old raptor taking a bath because I can't afford a bathhouse. Yeah, those bastards take gold coins. I don't have gold coins. Hey, feet are wet. Wee, 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 wee. Mom's gonna be pissed. I forgot to take my coat off. She's gonna be pissed. Hey, at least I did the laundry for her. She don't have to worry about it no more.